have a call later today with a friend of mine, and we're going to go do talks at some of the local high schools, and then kind of push it up to the community colleges and maybe some actual colleges. Just go in there, tell our stories about where we were to where we are now. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter, what you did, but like if you choose to change, you can change yourself right now, make the difference. So that's a huge, huge goal of mine, and a lot of drive for me.
Welcome to the Obsessed with Real Estate show. I am your host, Alana George, and I am obsessed with real estate. I have a great show for you today. Brody Garcia with KGI Capital, who shares with us his touching story of being a teen dad and how reading one book really set him in the right direction of investing in real estate and becoming a responsible adult. I'll give you a hint. You've heard of the book before. You'll have to listen to find out. He also talks about how real estate now enables him to give back to the communities that he came from. And we talk about how now he's building and diversifying his portfolio. It's a lot of good stuff. You're going to love it. I loved recording it. Fun fact, actually, right after the interview, my computer died. So I'm having to re-record this at a later date, the intro. And so if you're watching, you'll see my hair is much better in the actual interview than it is right now. But anyways, just wanted to give you that note for consistency. Another reminder, if you haven't already, notice that in the show notes, I do list the books that we talk about for you to easily go and buy them. I am an Amazon affiliate member, so if you buy through the links that I provide, you are supporting the show, and I would greatly appreciate that. You can also head over to our website, obsessedwithrealestateshow.com, where you can find all of the book recommendations. All right, let's jump in. I am here with Brody Garcia with KGI Interests. Welcome to the Obsessed with Real Estate show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Super excited to have you here. We met a couple weeks ago now at our real estate meetup here locally in the Bay Area. We got to talking and you just had a really interesting story. So I thought I need to hear more about you, right? You shared, some of your whys like right off the bat. And I felt like that was super smart. You're a super networker for doing that, because everybody became so vested in sharing in your vision, right? And became like instant friends with you. So that was really cool. And I appreciate you accepting my invite to be on here for me to deep dive into you and your investing. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And all the compliments. I didn't know I was super networking, but I'm just trying to be just real, I guess.
Yeah, I took some notes. So tell me a bit about you and, share with us your background and what eventually led you into real estate investing.
Okay, so this will be a little bit of a longer story. So we'll go way back. So I grew up in not such a great household. I grew up about the age of 5. My dad was in and out of prison. I remember going to visit my dad through a piece of plexiglass and a telephone.
My God.
I remember at a time seeing my dad running out of a store, carrying a flat screen TV, throwing it into the back of our van. I'm sitting in the passenger seat and people are chasing after him, screaming his name. And about 5 minutes later, of course, being in the Bay Area, there's traffic everywhere. We got stopped in traffic. 5 cop cars pull up and, we're watching him get arrested. And I'm hanging out in the cop car where it's nice and warm, at least. So
that's wild.
So going from that, I started kind of following that same cycle as I got older. I was really angry. It felt very like the world kind of screwed me over, and I had an disadvantage. I started making poor choices. And by the time I was like in high school, I was smoking, drinking, I was doing all that kind of stuff. I ended up having my daughter by the time I was 16. Really, that was kind of where I started to make that shift. It was like, I realized that I didn't want to be what my dad was to my daughter. I realized that I wanted to be there for her and be in her life, and it was very important to me. So from that point, I kind of slowly started shifting over. I ended up meeting my girlfriend who my senior year of high school. So I was about 18 and met her, and she was a lot more into investing. And I ended up reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad that she had sitting out one day. And that was kind of like that light bulb was like, I don't have to work until I'm 50 and then maybe retire early if I save really good. really, that was a big part of it for me. I've gone pretty much from that and started doing smaller investment properties, and now I'm pushing towards larger multifamilies. But that's kind of a big part of my why, is to really want to be able to give back to people that were in my shoes, that really felt like the world was not so nice to them.
That's amazing. I love that mission. The fact that you were even open to reading the book that was there, open to the concepts, is huge, right? We talk about it all the time on the show and in communities, how we get the identities of sometimes our parents' money mindsets. And it's hard to see beyond that sometimes. So just the fact that you were open to reading the book on it and didn't dismiss, I mean, says a lot about you and how you were really wanting to grow and change your life. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all the compliments.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. And so tell me a bit about your first investment. Like, how did you get from reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad when you were 18, which is great, to actually buying your first investment?
Right. So I had been working pretty much since I knew I was going to have a daughter. I got a job. I was working every day after school and working full time during the summer at a machine shop. So I was able to save a little bit of money from that, all the way up till I was about 19. Then I started working as an electrical apprentice. So I was working up in the Bay Area, and I started making decent money doing that. And by the time I was 21, I was able to save up enough to buy a home on the outer edge of the Bay Area. And so that was my first investment property. So I worked with that. It was a 3-2 with a little granny unit in the back. Basically, we did a house hack, which is where I bought it and had, separate sides. So I rented out the larger half of it. And then me and my girlfriend and my daughter all crammed into a little 300 square foot ADU. That was not, it was rough, definitely rough. But
yeah, with a better financial decision, you made that sacrifice, because I think a lot of people either wouldn't have rented out that ADU or would have, taken the 3-bedroom, right?
I'll tell you right now, my family, when they came, they did the little housewarming party when I first bought it. All of them were like, "Why are you doing that? Like, why don't you live in the nicer big house?" And it's like you said, I was trying to save my money, try to leverage it better. I personally don't need a lot of space. I don't like having a lot of stuff. So smaller is better for me anyways.
I have this theory that I could live in a shoebox if it meant that I could buy more real estate. I'm pretty flexible. I don't need a lot also, but having a family and stuff, you end up needing more room.
Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a 1 bedroom, it was a studio. So
oh my gosh.
We had our bed, and then my daughter had a little bunk bed with a desk underneath it. That was about 5 to 10 feet away from us. And really, we lived in that for almost a year while I saved up some money and ended up converting it into a 2-bedroom. And adding an additional 400 square feet on that. So now we have some bedrooms, but
yeah, that's hard. Was that hard on your relationship?
Yes, it definitely was. Especially once we started doing the remodels, we didn't really have a lot of room to go. It's all in one room. So once you start ripping open walls, just basically like where our beds had plastic hanging down from the ceiling. You had to go through flaps to keep the drywall dust out. And I'd start talking to contractors to do the work. And I just, at the time, they wanted 60, 80 grand to get it done. And I just put all the money into buying the house. So I didn't have it. So I ended up doing all the work myself, except for a little bit of drywall.
That's pretty resourceful. I know even like bed sharing when you have an infant is hard on relationships. So I would imagine just sharing a room as your house, that has to be really hard.
Yeah, you try to spend a lot more time outside.
Yeah.
Get a little bit more room outside.
Yeah, play outside, go hiking, hang out at the mall, I'm sure. But more power to you. Like, that's a big sacrifice. And I like this story a lot also because you worked in the trades and you were able to buy something. That's amazing. And buy something in the Bay Area. Like, that's not as heard of and an accomplishment in itself. But okay, I'll keep the compliments to myself. Anyways, okay, so tell me what you learned from this first house hacking deal.
Oh, I learned everything. I mean, really, I learned how to manage tenants and find good tenants. So like that part of it, we got tenants in there within a month or two after purchasing the property. They end up moving out like 2 months later, which we had a year-long lease. And basically he worked in the in the marijuana industry and basically moved jobs to come over here. And he just basically lost his job. And there's not a ton of competitors to get a new job out here. So that basically he was just, they sat down with us like, hey, we're going to have to move. Like we're going to have to go back to Stockton or wherever they were from.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So exactly dealing with that. Luckily they were good and they communicated with us and told us that wasn't like they just disappeared and stopped paying rent. They told us that we were able to get someone back within 2 months, and they've been in here ever since, and they've been really good tenants. So just learning that whole process, and then also on the construction side of it, really just learning how everything costs, what it takes, dealing with permits, dealing with the city, really had to grind and just kind of make it happen because I was working full time, leaving the house at 5 a.m., getting home at 5 p.m., eating dinner, and then working for a couple hours to, and then weekend warrior it as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it was 24/7, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, also that it's very hard on the relationships as well. So it's kind of trying to find a balance between all that.
Yeah. And your role as a dad too, you work all day, come home, eat, and then go and you work. That's not exactly, spending quality time. And
no, not at all.
Yeah, that's hard as well. And kids always want to help, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah, my daughter, doing a little bit of demo, I give her a little hammer and she can hit a little bit of drywall, and she likes going up in the attic and stuff. So we got the plywood up there. So she helped me pull some wires and do all that. So she likes to be a part of it. I always try to, like you said, try to intermix them. So
yeah, that's the win-win.
Yep, exactly.
And it's good for kids to feel like they're involved too. It's good for their self-esteem and their self-confidence when you can involve them in what you're doing. It's a positive. Tell me about your current portfolio. How have you grown since then?
Since I bought that property when I was 21, it's been about 4 years now. So I'm 25 now. And in that time, I bought a couple, mostly small multifamilies and single families out of state that cash flow better than California.
Mm-hmm.
So
what states?
Florida and Indiana. So Florida, more of appreciation, especially now. Appreciated a lot since I bought it. And cash flow at the time. And then a couple properties, single families in Indiana as well.
Cool. And those are cash flowing well, I would imagine as well. Yeah. Do you get sick of people saying, oh my gosh, you're so young because you're only 25?
I mean, I used to. It used to bother me, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
But now I kind of try to own it. I'm 25. I'm serious about this.
Okay, just checking, because that was my initial, I think that I probably said that to you at the meetup. And then when you said it now, I'm like, oh my God, you're so young. But I know I was, 24, 25 at one time. And, it's the oldest you've ever been. What can you say? And 25 was a big turning point, like for me in my life. So you're definitely rocking it. And that's really cool. So you have mostly small multifamilies now that are cash flowing out of state. And then sounds like you still have that single family.
Yeah. So I still live here. It's much cheaper, especially with how rents are going right now. I'm living here for almost nothing to live here.
That's
so
awesome.
That's one of the nice parts about it. And then also on top of that, I'm moving more into larger multifamilies right now. So we just closed on a 72 unit apartment last month.
Super cool.
So yeah,
Super
so that's I'm pushing towards that space now.
Just growing, getting bigger buildings. And can you share, where that is?
So yeah, that property is in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I got a little bit of everything, a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of diversified that way. I like it. You got appreciation in Florida and in the Bay Area. You've got cash flow. I would think that Indiana and Oklahoma are both heavy cash flow.
Yes.
Yeah. Less on the appreciation. That's what my Ohio properties are. They're not as much appreciation as they are cash flow.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is why I love them.
Yeah. No, they're good. I mean, really, they stay afloat because of that, right?
Yeah. So tell me, now that you're at where you're at, which is a good place to be, what are your current challenges that you're facing with your business, with the growth, with where you're trying to go?
Yeah. So, I mean, with the way we're doing the multifamily purchases now, I'm learning how to basically grow an investor base and learn marketing. I mean, before I was just word of mouth, just talk to people. But now I really have to make an effort to try to do our marketing and networking. I personally am not a social media guy. I just made my Facebook and my LinkedIn like probably a couple months ago. Social media is not my, I don't spend a lot of time on it. I always used to think it was really dumb.
Yeah, I know. I've mentally gone back and forth for a long time. It's funny that you say you just made a Facebook though, because it's like 2022 and I almost feel like you're so late to that boat.
Exactly. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like 75. I'm like, how do I do this on Facebook? How do I use this like Instagram and stuff? So I'm really trying to get that locked in and really just kind of realize that I'm going to need to contact and reach out and share with more people than I can do just with my mouth.
Yeah, more so than just word of mouth. It gives you a great platform. So you're 25, but definitely an old soul. And personally, I feel like I can only like mentally handle like putting my energy into like one social media platform. Like, right, I shifted my focus a few years ago from my Facebook to my Instagram because it was a bit better for business. Now I post on Instagram. If you go to my Facebook feed, there's like barely anything. And then my assistant helped me create a TikTok, but it's already hard enough for me to get the energy and to find the time to like post on Instagram, but to then be like, okay, now I'm going to post on Facebook. Okay, now I'm going to post on TikTok, right? I feel like that's like overwhelming for me. It's too much.
Yeah, my idea, I don't know if this is how it actually works. The idea is that basically make the content for like, say a week and put that to LinkedIn, right? And then almost just repost it on those different platforms. So it's not like you're making new content. You just have to.
I wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it. I'm going to need it a little bit.
When you deep dive into it, the algorithms are different. They like different, graphics, but I'm not going to slow you down with that because if you just go with that, like that's going to be like so much better than nothing. And you should totally do that.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely go for it.
I'm going to follow you. There's your accountability. Okay. So I want to hear about a brag from you. What's something that you're especially proud of yourself for doing real estate or not?
I have a couple. So I do jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I just got my third stripe like last week. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm on my white belt. So I've been doing it for about a year now. I'm almost to my blue belt. And then also I used to, when I was working as an electrician, I competed as an apprentice at an apprenticeship competition locally in the Bay Area. And I won 2 years in a row.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm so glad that you brought this up because I saw this on your LinkedIn profile and I was like, I have a note here. If you don't bring that up, I'm going to bring it up that you won local tournaments for being an electrician. Like, please tell me more about this because it sounds like so nerdy and fascinating. And I don't even know, like, what do you do? I just imagine a bunch of like people almost looking like they're disarming bombs or something.
Yeah. I mean, you're not too far off. Not bombs, but wires. But yeah. So basically, they give you it's a 6x6 wall. So 2 walls. Basically, you have a corner of a wall, and they give you drawings, and they give you 8 hours worth of work to do in 6 hours. And they say, here's all the parts. Here's the plans. Do it. And basically, you go out there. You do it. You work. Like I said, it's like 6 hours. You get a little lunch break, and then you go out there, and then they go through and they judge everyone. So typically, there's about the local side. There's probably 10 to 20 competitors there. There's two different. There's industrial and residential. So I primarily worked industrial in the trade. So I did that one first, and I won that one. I was like, I just went for it, and I won. And then the residential side, I practiced a little bit, and I was able to win that one as well.
That is amazing. This is a whole world that I never knew existed. They hold these at like high school gyms or something.
So they have a basically apprenticeship program. So it's non-union. It's called the ABC. But basically they do a competition every year for it. And then when you win the local ones, they send you to the national ones. So they do those all over the state. Yeah.
Okay. Wait. So you go from the local and then you go to state and then national because that's how most things work.
So it would be you win local and then you go to national.
Wow.
So I went to, it was actually in Long Beach when I did it. So they flew me down to Long Beach, paid for a 3-day hotel stay, and basically it's a 3-day competition. So you go down there. I didn't win those ones, but
You competed.
yes, I did. I competed. It was a whole event. So yes, it was very interesting.
That is really cool. Do you have like the awards like hanging at your house? Yes. Yeah, they look like the Olympics. I love it.
Yep.
First place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the random things that I'm proud about myself for.
I'm proud of you too. That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it makes my brain start turning like, what other like random industries can have competitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen like a realtor competition, like who can show this home the fastest and in most detail. Ready, set, go.
It's definitely, I didn't know about it until I did it. I just went and did it I was like, what can I lose? Basically went for it. And then I found out it's this whole thing.
That is cool. Do the other trades have that tue?
Oh yeah. I mean, at nationals, it's not just electricians, it's
Like
plumbers,
Mhm.
framers, everything, masons, every trade they'll go out there and do it.
That is really cool. And my competitive spirit is flaring up, but I'm not going to pick up a trade now at this point in my life. So super cool. Next question is, what would you tell your 18-year-old self if you could go back in time from what you know now?
Oh, that's a tough one because really my 18-year-old self was kind of a problem, a little troublemaker. So I really, honestly, I don't know if I could say anything that would really like change me. And honestly, I don't know if I want to. It hasn't been easy and there's been a lot of struggle, but I think that is kind of what made me who I am. And I don't know if I'd want to change any of that.
Well, it sounded like you got on the right path, like kind of early on. So I should have reframed that to like, what would you tell your 10-year-old self? 18 years old wasn't that long ago for you, and you kind of started getting into it at that time. So, what would you tell your 10 or 12-year-old self?
That's even harder. I mean, really, I was just not in a good place mentally, and my mindset was just garbage. And I really, like I said, I was just really angry. I was really angry at the world for a long time. That kind of that rebellious, like I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to do what you tell me. I don't know. Maybe just tell them that people do care. The world's a lot brighter place than you really think.
And if it would have permeated into your brain, if you would have heard it, that's a whole nother story. But I do think that sharing your story now is a way of helping people in that position, right? Because I know I would have, and I do listen more to people whose stories sound like mine, or they, look like me or sound, what I mean? If I can find similarities, I'm more likely, like subconsciously, to listen to them, or if they have what I want kind of thing. And I think that anybody that happens to stumble upon your story or is listening to this that may have come from the same background would relate and think, if he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah, that is exactly kind of what I'm going for. Right now, actually, I have a call later today with a friend of mine, and we're going to go do talks at some of the local high schools and then kind of push it up to the community colleges and maybe some actual colleges. We're planning to go in there and, just go in there, tell our stories about where we were to where we are now. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter, what you did. But like, if you choose to change, you can change yourself right now and make the difference. So that's a huge goal of mine and a lot of drive for me.
That's amazing. And you're definitely like doing God's work there. There's a lot of young people that could, benefit from hearing that. I hope you're touring the East Side, ESSJ. That would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know my high school has a program where for the last like 2 or 3 years, I've been going back and doing mock interviews to prepare them for like the real world interviews, which I think is really cool because for me, I didn't finish. I just like went to college. Like I took like Pilates at college and considered myself in school. But yeah, I think that this is like more real world. And I think you talking to people and they could just relate to that. And It's something outside of the normal, like study hard, go to school, get a good job philosophy. Question for you, and I feel like the answer is yes. Have you read The 4-Hour Workweek?
So I haven't read it cover to cover, but I have it on my bookshelf, and I definitely open it from time to time and take a look at it.
Okay, because it sounds like that's kind of the path that you were on with giving these speeches or talks, because that's one of the things I remember from the book is starting off locally speaking at events to gain recognition. And then you go on to community colleges and colleges to build a speaking platform. And then you write your book.
Yeah, I guess that. I mean, I don't remember that part of it, but yeah, no, that's kind of. I just thought the high schools would be a good place to start, and I could mess up there and kind of get better and better as I.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you're going to have the biggest impact there probably because they're the youngest, but that would actually listen. I think that's a great idea. That's super cool. So tell me about your biggest inspiration. It could be a person, it could be a place, a time, something happened.
Yeah, honestly, having my daughter really changed. Really changed my entire life, and just at the age of 16, it's not about you anymore. Like I had to realize that like whatever I do is going to affect my daughter. So I think that inspiration wise, that's a really big part of it. And I do spend a lot of time with my daughter, and I make sure that we have that quality time. My inspiration is really my daughter and being able to give back. Those are two things that really motivate me to push when I don't want to.
Yeah, those are your whys, big time. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any book recommendations or podcasts?
I'm not sure exactly who you have listening to this, but I've been getting the syndication, and I would definitely recommend that Best Ever Apartment Syndication book. This is really by Joe Fairless.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Best Ever Apartment Syndication book by Joe Fairless. Okay, I haven't read that one.
Yeah, this is a really good syndication book. It is like 300 or 400 pages. I usually kind of go when I'm working on a certain thing, I'll open the book, crack open it, basically use it as a reference.
Cool. And tell me what you're currently obsessed with, if anything.
I really have been obsessed with trying to grow my portfolio, build up my cash flow, and because I really want to be able to help and give back. That's a big part of it for me. So I can't give back and take care of my family as much as I want to as I am right now. So I really need to build that. That's a big part of it. So I'm just kind of obsessed every day trying to work on that and grow it.
I 100% agree. I was thinking this as I was driving just yesterday. So it's weird that you bring that up. When we are trying to just make ends meet, we're not volunteering our hours or donating or mentoring, right? We have to build this life for ourselves to have the freedom to give, right? We can have giving spirits every day and give here and there, but to make a massive impact, like I feel that you want to, it's super important to hone in on getting these goals done. So you have that time freedom. The money is great to not have to worry about, but it's really about the time freedom of where you want to spend your time.
Yeah, like you said, if you want to volunteer, or really, I'd like to give back to my mom. She really took care of us, me and my brothers. I would love to be able to buy my mom a house, right? And,
that's a big one. I like it.
Yeah, so things like that. I can't. I could probably save for years and years and years, and then maybe be able to do it. But that's what I really see my goals pushing towards, is being able to do things like that.
That's cool. I like that. Tell me a boring fact about you that maybe people don't know, that you don't talk about very often.
I just love eating meat. Like steak is my favorite meal. Like steak with a little bit of salt and pepper. I don't need no marinades, nothing on it. Just
no sides. Steak.
Really, I take double steak and no sides.
Okay, definitely a carnivore. This is like completely off topic. Have you ever heard of the blood type diet?
The what?
It's a blood type diet that suggests that if you are meat eaters are blood type O.
No, I have never.
Do you know your blood type?
I don't.
Okay. I challenge you to look into it. So my blood type is A positive, one of the only A pluses I've ever gotten. And according to this book, which studied, A's can be vegetarian, right? No problem. And if you're a blood type O, you're going to run into difficulties because O is based on a meat-based diet. And you're more likely to have a gluten allergy as well and ulcers. So anyways, it's worth looking at. Yeah, it goes into the science of like even type O people have stronger saliva acid, like saliva to break down the meat, and stomach acid.
Huh. Okay, I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, because it's built for eating meat. And if you're a blood type A, your body isn't as built to eat meat. And so it can slow you down. Your digestion isn't as fast, so it can make you sluggish. Whereas meat eaters, it gives you energy. It's this whole thing. I got obsessed for a while. I don't know. I'm obsessive. I just dive deep into random things. Pretty much every time I ask, it falls into those categories. So that's why I always ask.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely look into that. I mean, that would make a lot of sense because I've been like that ever since I was a kid.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like it's not doing your body right. So I would be interested to see if you are blood type O. Do you eat a lot of bread? Does that slow you down? Have you noticed?
My girlfriend's gluten-free, so we typically don't eat a lot of bread.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. Anyways, I could talk about that for another moment. Okay. So what is next for Brody Garcia?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm gonna go do some talks at some high schools. So I'm super excited about that. I've been aggressively offering on real estate, and basically building up our investor base for that. And really that's where I'm going. More real estate and try to change some lives.
I love it. You wouldn't think right off the bat those two things were involved with each other, but they totally are. And how can people get a hold of you, get in touch with you, look into investing with you?
Yeah, so we have our website. It's investwithkgi.com. And then also too on LinkedIn is where I'm most active, working on my social media game there. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn and set up a call, that'd be fantastic.
Cool. So we'll have those links in our show notes. And so if anybody wants to get in touch, set up a call, talk about investing. It sounds like Brody's pretty open. Talk about changing lives or giving speeches at local high schools and opportunities there. I'm sure you're open to, fielding inquiries on that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Actually, yeah, send those this way too.
I'm booking you more gigs.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much, Brody, for being on our show. I've had a great time interviewing you, hearing all about what makes you tick and what drives you. And I'm definitely feeling inspired, not just to buy more real estate, because I basically wake up thinking that every day, but how doing so will impact others and other people that were previously in my shoes that didn't have as much or weren't on the path to this financial freedom, right? I just want to inspire other people to join us and to buy more real estate.
Yeah, there we go. Get in the game.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks, Brody. Well, that is all for our interview with Brody Garcia. If you are enjoying this show, please head over to whichever platform you're listening to this on and leave me a 5-star review. I'd really appreciate it. It enables the show to be found by more people and possibly inspire more to take action towards their financial freedom and future. So please do that. I would appreciate it. Definitely subscribe, hit the alerts button. You don't want to miss an episode. I've got a lot of great ones lined up, a lot of good interviews on the books. If you'd like to connect, please feel free to reach out to me at obsessedwithrealestateshow.com, where you can apply to be a guest on the show or just leave me a comment. I'd love that. You can also connect with me, follow, DM and say hi on Instagram, AlanaGeorge_real estate, as well as on TikTok. I'm not as active on TikTok, but definitely you can find me on Instagram. Feel free to also check out clearconnectioncapital.com if you're interested in hearing about any of the future offerings for multifamilies all across the U.S. that we have going on. So again, that's clearconnectioncapital.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next show.